Hey everyone, this is from Chalk. Wanted to give a quick demo of what it's like working with Chalk in a Jupyter notebook. And so typically we start off by importing this Chalk client. And once we have a client, we can actually start, querying features against our production environment. And typically you would import your features from your code base and then essentially have Chalk pull them. But we actually have this load features functionality that lets Chalk import all of your features all at once from your production environment into your essentially kernel or your Jupyter session. And once you have all of your features imported, you can actually create new features and then have Chalk compute them as well. And so I can say we have a new on-demand feature for this marketplace user, and it's going to be computed by running this Chalk expression. And so if I make a query against my environment, Chalk can essentially also compute this new feature, which makes it really easy to test new ideas and iterate on some essentially hypotheses that you have. And so we also have this bulk query, and so this is essentially returning, let's say, a data frame of results instead of a single query. And so I can say I want to query for 10 users, for example, and then it's going to give you back this bulk online query result type. And once I have this result type, I can actually have Chalk converted into either polars or pandas or PyArrow. That way I can use it somewhere else. And second thing I wanted to show you guys is being able to recompute features in a temporally consistent way. And so, for example, I can do an offline query against my offline store for a particular user at different time intervals, right? And then Chalk can go in and actually fetch features that only match the time range that you give it, right? And so in this case, I'm going to pull essentially review count and average rating given for this particular user at 3 different time intervals, right? And so I can make these 3 datetime objects, last year, Christmas, and New Year, and then I can have Chalk compute essentially these features at these different time intervals. And so if I look at this data frame, I can see that I see at the end of the year, the user had 11 reviews, and then I think in Christmas it had 14, and then in this past New Year it had 37. And so we can actually track individual users over time using this offline query and recompute features. And the last thing to show you is that we can actually export this data set. And so, for example, any result that I get back from an offline query, I can actually save as a data set in Chalk. And then I can export that into either my Iceberg or Glue catalog. That way I can share with other teams. Or I can use that same data set in Chalk to train a new model. And so if I jump into the dashboard, this is actually the blog post for this. I can see that this is what the results of an offline query look like. So I can give this data set a name. I can see the outputs in my dashboard. I can see when that particular timestamp was or that user was created at. I can also see different metrics against the features that I pulled out, like the mean, max, min of this particular feature. Yeah, and you can also see the query plan, which is really helpful. Yeah, so just wanted to give you guys this quick demo.